Talk about how cheap property taxes are in San Miguel de Allende. I had clients that were moving from New York where they were paying $60,000 a year in property taxes. And they said, we can live off the savings from our property taxes in San Miguel de Allende. Taxes down here are so affordable, you'll be amazed.
Hello, viewers. Welcome back to another video. I am Maya, your interview host for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services here in San Miguel de Allende in central Mexico. And today we're delving into the topic of property taxes and carry costs for owning a home in San Miguel de Allende. I'm joined by Greg Gunter, also known as the Dream Pro. He's the broker and co-owner of the sole Berkshire Hathaway Home Services office here in San Miguel de Allende. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Maya, how are you? Boy, we're having some summertime weather here, aren't we?
Yes.
86 degrees today, and it's still February. I'm amazed.
I'm amazed too. I'm loving it. Thank you so much for being here today, Greg. Why don't we just get started? Why don't we give our viewers an overview of the cost of annual property taxes in San Miguel de Allende?
Sure, let's touch base on that. So, team, those of you that are coming from California, you've heard of Prop 13. I know that's not going to be necessarily familiar to a lot of the rest of the United States, but the Prop 13 proposal in California bumped the property taxes on a property to its new value when it's sold. Remember, there were people in California that had owned a home since World War II, and they finally sold it 50 years later. They'd been paying no property taxes to speak of, for 50 years. And when the new buyer bought it for $3 million, they suddenly had a tax bill that was 40 times higher. We've done a somewhat similar program here in San Miguel de Allende in the last 4 or 5 years. So your new property taxes will be based on the value of the home that you just purchased it for. However, our mill levy is still very low here. So your property taxes are still going to run very, very low here. That's the wonderful thing about your carrying cost here in San Miguel. Property taxes are very cheap. How cheap, you ask? Well, let me give you an example of that. For every $100,000 of value for the purchase price of your home, you'll pay about $270 in property taxes. So do the math on that real quick, team. For a $500,000 home, you'll be paying about $1,350 in annual property taxes. My clients ask, is that per month or per year? I said, no, that's per year. Really, it's a very affordable property tax rate. Now, one thing to explain about how Mexico, or San Miguel de Allende in particular, keeps those taxes so low, we now have, at least for the past 5 or 6 years, have had an acquisition tax. In the United States, they often call that a transfer tax, and that is 4% of the purchase price. That's a one-time tax. You only pay it right when you purchase the home, and that's it. But that helps supplement the low property taxes that we have here. So very low property taxes on an annual ongoing basis. If you own your home for a long time, it's nothing. If you only own it for 2 or 3 years, it's going to be a little higher because you paid that 4% acquisition tax when you purchased the home. Now, here's a nice little surprise for you. They don't offer this in the United States. Down here in San Miguel de Allende, when you pay your property taxes, your full year property taxes in January, you get a 15% discount. How's that? If you wait until February to pay it, you still get a 10% discount. So there's a great way to save on your property taxes if you pay early for the whole year here in San Miguel de Allende. Nice little bonus, huh, Maya?
Yes, well said. This is so interesting. And maybe now we can share with viewers also the annual cost, the annual carrying cost for a home here in San Miguel de Allende.
Sure. Of course, the property taxes are going to be one of those bigger figures for your carrying cost. The other figures, remember, we all have staff down here, viewers. That's the wonderful thing that we love about the lifestyle of living in San Miguel de Allende. We all have maids and gardeners and those kind of staff to take care of things. Now, I always encourage my clients to engage a property manager to manage their property, whether they're just living there full time or whether they're going to use it as a rental property. If you're just living there full time, you may go, why do I need a property manager for? I've never had one before. But it's a wonderful thing to have a bilingual person you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, I have a pipe burst and my house is flooding. Please send a plumber at 3 in the morning. And that property manager is there to do that. When he calls the plumber in Spanish, the plumber will actually answer the phone at 3 in the morning because your property manager sends him all of your work. So one of the overhead costs that you might have is about $120 to $140 a month for a property manager, okay? They'll take care of paying the staff. They'll pay your property tax every year, every January, like I just talked about. They can pay the staff in person. They can pay utilities. We have a water utility here that is in the 18th century. They still demand that you come in person and pay the water bill in person. No such thing as an online payment. So the property manager can do those types of tasks as well. And then again, if you have a property manager for a rental property, they'll take 20% of the income stream to manage that rental property. So what other carrying costs might you have? Well, like I said, we all have staff here. So you'll have a cook and or a maid. I have one that's a combination. She's a very good cook. She's a cleaner, a maid. She does all my laundry, all my ironing. She buys flowers for me and arranges my flower arrangements in my house. I have 3 of those throughout my house. She is 100 pesos an hour. Now I live by myself, and she cooks for me, by the way, like I said, and makes meals that I can reheat. I only need a maid twice a week for a total of 10 hours during the week. So you can do the math on that real quick. That's 1,000 pesos for a week. So depending on how large of a household you are, how big of a house you have, you might have one that spends a little bit more time at your house. But for me, living on my own, it's 1,000 pesos a week. So what is that in today's math? That's about 60 bucks a week, something like that. Many places will have gardeners. If you have a large garden or a lot of potted plants, you can have a gardener that will come by, and he's going to run about the same thing, 100 to 120 pesos an hour for a good gardener. Electricity. Electricity, if you don't have solar down here, can run about $1 a day. We get kicked into higher brackets or a higher usage rate, which is a higher kilowatt rate if you overuse your electricity. So some people will add a second meter to avoid getting kicked into that higher usage bracket. A lot of people will add solar. So for instance, I have solar on my house. My electricity bill is minimal. So that's a good thing to consider. If you don't buy a home with solar, consider installing it. Down here, everyone buys the solar system. It's not a rental program like lots of the United States. So it's an owned asset that carries with the property. So that's a very good thing to look for. If you look for a listing that has a solar system, it's going to save you a lot in your electricity, and it's already paid for. It's included in the house, just like the water heater. Other monthly costs, your internet might run you $1.25 a day. Your water might run you $20 a month. Your what else can I think of? Internet, we've covered electricity, water, gas. Okay, everyone here has a propane gas tank. So your gas in the wintertime, when it's colder, it might run you $50 to $75 a month. In the summertime, when it's much warmer, that same amount will cover you for 3 or 4 months. So gas is variable depending on the season, of course, but it's very low as well. The other one I wanted to talk about was property tax or homeowners insurance. Sorry about that. Homeowners insurance here is in many cases non-existent. Remember, we have no natural disasters in San Miguel De Allende, no earthquakes, no tornadoes, no hurricanes, no floods. Nothing can burn in the house. They're all masonry construction here. So there's no wood structural components here. They're just decorative. So really nothing can burn in the house. So many people don't pay for homeowners insurance here. It's cheaper to have a broken window fixed because it's 10 or 20 bucks to fix a broken window versus having an insurance policy that you then, work against your deductible. So many people will save several hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year on their homeowners insurance as well. And you just self-insure by correcting everything yourself. So all of that together, your overall carrying costs for the entire year could be covered, for instance, by renting your home for a month. If you don't live here full time and you chose to rent it for a month, that month's worth of rental income would cover your carrying cost for the entire year. It's amazingly affordable down here, team.
Thanks, Greg, for such a detailed breakdown. I'm sure our viewers will find this incredibly helpful. Now, I have a question for you, Greg. Are real estate commissions something your real estate clients need to know about?
Well, for buyers, we're working with a lot of buyers. Those of you that are watching this video are probably buyers or potential buyers coming down from the United States. So, of course, you do not pay a commission down here. Now, I know a lot of you have heard about the recent lawsuits that are going on in the United States about buyer's commission versus seller's commission. We don't have a traditional MLS in San Miguel De Allende. So that means we don't have any of the ongoing tools to help people find homes online like Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and all those other online tools. They're not in existence in San Miguel. So you will always have to work with a buyer's representative here in San Miguel de Allende. So our real estate commission will likely stay the way it has for decades. The commission has been historically, and I'm sure will continue to be paid by the seller. So you as a buyer are not paying the real estate commission. They run about 6%. Of course, they're negotiable, but they run about 6%. And then we have to charge IVA on top of that. But as a buyer, that's not something you need to worry about. So not an issue for buyers. The commission, that 6% plus the IVA, the 16% on top of that, can total a total of 6.96% of the purchase price, the home the price that you're paying for the home. But again, as a buyer, not something that you need to be concerned about.
Thank you, Greg. We touched already on this a little bit a while ago, but let's tell our viewers maybe more about the acquisition tax they have to pay when they buy a home.
Certainly. As I mentioned a few moments ago, team, that acquisition tax is roughly 4%. Now, if you're buying an inexpensive home, it's actually prorated. The first low level of that, the first 200,000 or so of that is prorated up to 4%. So if you're buying a home that's only $300,000 or $350,000, your acquisition tax will actually run a little less than 4%. If you're buying a $750,000 or $1 million home or something like that, it's going to be pretty close to that full 4% amount. That, again, as I said, is a one-time acquisition tax, and it's good for as long as you own the home. So you're only paying it once. And as I said, it's a little bit prorated. So again, assume it's going to be about 4%. Remember, our total closing costs here are about 5.1%. The overwhelming majority of that is that acquisition tax of 4%. Okay. Now, some people go, is there any way to save on that? Work with a really knowledgeable realtor that can tell you about the history of the home that you're putting an offer on. If you've purchased a home that has been resold in the last 3 years, there's a good savings on that acquisition tax. So find that out. A good realtor will tell you in advance if you're looking at a home, hey, this one sold only a year ago. The seller's got something, a health disease or something that forced them to sell quicker. And so you're going to save substantially on that 4% acquisition tax. So instead of paying 5.1% on your closing cost, you may only pay 2.5% perhaps. So work with a good realtor that's very knowledgeable about helping you find a home that might have a lower acquisition tax if it's been resold in the last 3 years. Good tip to know.
Of course, working with someone knowledgeable, like a licensed realtor, is key when purchasing a home here in San Miguel de Allende. Thank you, Greg. This has been a super interesting conversation, incredibly informative. I mean, we've talked about just an overview of property taxes here in San Miguel and the annual municipal taxes, as well as real estate commissions, property taxes, rates and calculations, and, well, understanding just the property acquisition tax a little better. Is there anything else you would like to share with our viewers, Greg?
I think that covers at least the carrying cost and your property taxes. Very low. Remember, you can probably live off of most of the savings. I joked about my clients that saved $60,000 because they lived in New York and they had exorbitantly high property taxes. But even if you're coming from, the Bible Belt or, the other coast, and you're only paying $35,000 or $40,000, you can live like a king down here on $35,000 or $40,000. So take that into account. If you're selling your nice big $1 million home up somewhere in Oregon or Florida or somewhere or another, you can probably live off your property tax savings. Great thing to know. You can live a great lifestyle down here on that savings.
Definitely, definitely. Well, viewers, we also want to hear from you, so please comment below with your experiences or thoughts about property taxes and carry costs of owning a home here in San Miguel de Allende. And also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more valuable content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on our next video. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Maya. See you soon, viewers. Stay tuned for the next one.